Hotepu, Eastern androgyny heterosexual gatekeepers and our allies. And tonight I want to give you a small lecture on Kemetic Divine Devotion. Divine Kemetic Devotion, and this is segment part 2 of that. Part 1 is already on YouTube. You can go check that out in order for you to understand this one. Now, as we begin this lecture, I want to say that Kemet, I should say, having access to Kemet works in both ways. This can happen in a religious sense, and this can happen in a non-religious / metaphysical, galactic, and multidimensional sense. Okay? According to the book Egyptian Magic, which I will be presenting to you in the near future, it goes on to say that that the Egyptian philosophy and religion had two sects, sects, different sects, different sections. Okay, there was two sections. You had the Christian and non-Christian section. From my view, it's a bit of both, because here at the Golden Mile, we want to give our students and newcomers the best of both worlds. We could teach you from the religious aspect, and we could teach you from the metaphysical, galactic, esoteric, and multidimensional point of view. This also comes with learning some occult culture as well. But nonetheless, as I stated in my previous video, that in order for you to truly live Ma'a and her brother Ma'at, you must ask the Kemetic collective. I feel that they like that I said that. And so does Segment. She says, oh yes, and I do too. I feel that from the entire Kemetic collective, when we deal with our entities as such, we feel that in our religion and culture, that if you are truly about Kema'u, and you love Ra, and you love Ma'a, Nama'at, Asar, Afset, Anpu, Input, etc., etc., etc. It is important that you ask these beings into your heart. Don't don't just do the rituals. Yes, the rituals are very important in our religion. Very important. Okay? Um and so is metaphysics. You should apply that as well. Um but when it comes down to learning the 42 negative confessions and the 42 ideals of Ma'at and Ma'at, we must we 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 must not take it literal by saying I you we must not take it literal by saying you have committed false witness or you have worshipped other gods other than Ra, because it's not like that. You know, our true foundation in our religion is based upon metaphysics, esoteric knowledge, and an expansion of hidden culture, as well as galactic knowledge. And I'm going to be doing galactic videos as your Kemetic Prince, King, and Priest very soon as well. Because, as I told you before in another one of my previous videos, sometimes I may have to go outside the parameters of Kemet to give you more advanced information, which is coming. But but I want the unawares to know um, that that we are not just all over the place, and we do stand firm on something. We do have a basis which for that which we both believe and what we know, because what you know is also what you believe. Yea, it is. Excuse me. So, with this being said, we're going to listen to an article. It has a audio clip that I'm going to screen record, and when it cuts off, I'm going to read the rest. But as I stated, in this religion, now most people in the conscious community, they just call upon the Kemetic ancestors, because that they know it's just a consciousness thing. These things are concepts, and in our religion, yes, we know this too. We do, but we don't want to manipulate it to the point where we're playing with it. Our our Kemetic and or Egyptian ancestors, and I'm saying Egyptian for educational purposes. I personally wouldn't call them Egyptians, but when it came down to our Kemetic, when it came down to our Egyptian ancestors, these beings were real. If they weren't real, why 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 would they have tombs in the first place? If these gods are not real and just sciences, Why why is there archaeological evidence of them existing? Yes, 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 we do know that there are some replicas of our ancestors that are not the real them. They're fakes. Um, because if you see a replica of a pharaoh in a tomb that looks like charcoal, it's a fake. It's not real. Okay, I mean, we can't deny that there were uh, Kemites of dark skin, for there were Cushites. But if you see a pharaoh made of wood and not real bone marrow, it's a fake. Okay, it's not real, because these archaeologists can can fool you. Okay, they can fool the um, the African American culture of Kamau, and this is bad. Okay, this should be considered blasphemy. So anyway, let's continue with the mini lecture, and let's go to the article. And so, as we said before, once the audio cuts off, I'm going to read where the audio left off, and then that will be the end of this mini lecture. Hotepu.
Let two men and a truck take the stress out of your move. We know you have lots of stuff and no time to move it. Call the pros at Two Men and a Truck.
The Egyptian afterlife and the feather of truth.
Is it possible to have a heart that is lighter than a feather? To the ancient Egyptians it was not only possible but highly desirable. The afterlife of the ancient Egyptians was known as the Field of Reeds and was a land very much like one's life on earth, save that there was no sickness, no disappointment and, of course, no death. One lived eternally by the streams and beneath the trees which one had loved so well in one's life on earth. An Egyptian tomb inscription from 1400 BCE, regarding one's afterlife, reads, "To reach the eternal paradise of the Field of Reeds, however, one had to pass through the trial by Osiris, Lord of the Underworld and just judge of the dead, in the Hall of Truth, also known as the Hall of Two Truths, and this trial involved the weighing of one's heart against the feather of truth. A person's soul was thought to be immortal, an eternal being whose stay on earth was only one part of a much larger and grander journey. This soul was said to consist of 9 separate parts bar a human-headed bird aspect which could speed between earth and heaven. Shuyet was the shadow self, Sahu and Sekhem aspects of the Ake flat was the heart, the source of good and evil. All 9 of these aspects were part of one's earthly existence and, at death, the Ak with the Sahu and Sekhem appeared before Osiris in the Hall of Truth and in the presence of the 42 judges to have one's heart, A flat, weighed in the balance on a golden scale against the white feather of truth. The ancient Egyptians recognized that when the soul first awoke in the afterlife it would be disoriented and might not remember its life on earth, its death, or what it was to do next. In order to help the soul continue on its journey, artists and scribes would create paintings and text related to one's life on the walls of one's tomb, now known as the pyramid texts, which then developed into the coffin texts and the famous Egyptian Book of the Dead. Book of the Dead of Aneru, Thebes. The pyramid texts are the oldest religious works from ancient Egypt dated to c. 2400-2300 BCE. The coffin texts developed later from the pyramid texts in c. 2134-2040 BCE, while the Egyptian Book of the Dead, actually known as the Book on Coming Forth by Day, was created c. 1550-1070 BCE. All 3 of these works served the same purpose: to remind the soul of its life on earth, comfort its distress and disorientation, and direct it on how to proceed through the afterlife. In the Egyptian Book of the Dead it is recorded that, after death, the soul would be met by the god Anubis, who would lead it from its final resting place to the Hall of Truth. Images depict a queue of souls standing in the hall and one would join this line to await judgment. While waiting, one would be attended to by goddesses such as Qebit, daughter of Anubis, the personification of cool, refreshing water. Qevet would be joined by others such as Nephthys and Serket in comforting the souls and providing for them. When it came one's turn, Anubis would lead the soul to stand before Osiris and the scribe of the gods, both in front of the golden scales. The goddess Maat, personification of the cultural value of Maat, harmony and balance, would also be present, and these would be surrounded by the 42 judges who would consult with these gods on one's eternal fate. The soul would then recite the negative confessions in which one needed to be able to claim, honestly, that one had not committed certain sins. These confessions sometimes began with the prayer, "I have not learned the things which are not," meaning that the soul strove in life to devote itself to matters of lasting importance rather than the trivial matters of everyday life. There was no single set list of negative confessions, however, just as there was no set list of sins which would apply to everyone. A military commander would have a different list of sins than, say, a judge or a baker. The negative declarations, always beginning with, "I have."
Okay, so
How do I feel when my website and applications come under attack? Thanks to New Star Security, I feel confident.
Yeah.
The full Ultra Secure suite of always-on cloud security services enables me to be confident that our website will always be available to our customers whenever they need it.
New Star Security does more than ensure my company's online presence is ultra secure. It ensures my peace of
going
mind.
to wait.
New Star Security, always on, ultra secure.
Not, or I did not, following the opening prayer went to assure Osiris of the soul's purity and ended, in fact, with the statement, "I am pure," repeated a number of times. Each sin listed was thought to have disrupted one's harmony and balance while one lived and separated the person from their purpose on earth as ordained by the gods. In claiming purity of the soul, one was asserting that one's heart was not weighed down with sin. It was not the soul's claim to purity which would win over Osiris, however, instead the weight of the soul's heart. The heart of the soul was handed over to Osiris, who placed it on a great golden scale balanced against the white feather of Maat, the feather of truth. The heart of the soul was handed over to Osiris, who placed it on a great golden scale balanced against the white feather of Maat, the feather of truth on the other side. If the soul's heart was lighter than the feather, then the gods conferred with the 42 judges, and if they agreed that the soul was justified, the person could pass on toward the bliss of the field of reeds. According to some ancient texts, the soul would then embark on a dangerous journey through the afterlife to reach paradise, and they would need a copy of the Egyptian Book of the Dead to guide them and assist them with spells to recite if they ran into trouble. According to others, however, after justification it was only a short journey from the Hall of Truth to paradise. The soul would leave the Hall of Judgment, be rowed across Lily Lake, and enter the eternal paradise of the field of reeds, in which one received back everything taken by death. For the soul with the heart lighter than a feather, those who had died earlier were waiting along with one's home, one's favorite objects and books, even one's long-lost pets. The Judgment of the Dead by Osiris by trustees of the British Museum, copyright. Should the heart prove heavier, however, it was thrown to the floor of the Hall of Truth, where it was devoured by Amenti, also known as Amit, a god with the face of a crocodile, the front of a leopard and the back of a rhinoceros, known as the Gobbler. Once Amenti devoured the person's heart, the individual soul then ceased to exist. There was no "hell" for the ancient Egyptians, their "fate worse than death" was non-existence. The field of reeds and Egyptian love of life. It is a popular misconception that the ancient Egyptians were obsessed with death when, in reality, they were in love with life and so, naturally, wished it to continue on after bodily death. The Egyptians enjoyed singing, dancing, boating, hunting, fishing and family gatherings just as people enjoy them today. The most popular drink in ancient Egypt was beer, which, although considered a food consumed for nutritional purposes, was also enjoyed at the many celebrations Egyptians observed throughout the year. Drunkenness was not considered a sin as long as one consumed alcohol at an appropriate time for an appropriate reason. Sex, whether in marriage or out, was also viewed liberally as a natural and enjoyable activity. The elaborate funerary rites, mummification, and the placement of shati dolls were not meant as tributes to the finality of life but to its continuance, in the hope that the soul would win admittance to the field of reeds when the time came to stand before the scales of Osiris. The funerary rites and mummification preserved the body so the soul would have a vessel to emerge from after death and return to in the future if it chose to visit Earth. One's tomb and statuary depicting the deceased served as an eternal home for the same reason, so the soul could return to Earth to visit, and shati dolls were placed in a tomb to do one's work in the afterlife so that one could relax whenever one wished. When the funeral was over, and all the prayers had been said for the safe travel of the departed, survivors could return to their homes consoled by the thought that their loved one was justified and would find joy in paradise. Even so, not all the prayers nor all the hopes nor the most elaborate rites could help that soul whose heart was heavier than the white feather of truth.
Okay, that is it. Um, Now, I wish I could read most of. I wish I could read most of what was played for you, but I'm a bit fatigued. So I'm going to end this, and then I'm going to give my conclusion and end this lecture. Do I end? Now, what I will say is this. Coming after this lecture, which I'm going to do about uh, on, I'm going to say, I'm assuming either tomorrow or Wednesday, I'm going to be focusing on the moral, metaphysical, and global meaning of the 42 ideas of Ma'at and Ma'at, which is the brother and sister. Okay. So you'll be getting a trinity of lessons. Okay. I already did a video on the moral, the metaphysical, and global meaning of the 42 negative confessions of Ma'at. And if you haven't seen that video, I recommend you go check that out on my YouTube channel. And the same will apply to my occult lectures channel. I'm going to be sharing these similar videos to that channel very soon. Because it's coming. Anyway, I want to say this. For those of us, listen up, for those of us that follow Kama'u, alright, it is important that we stay true to Kemetic culture so that we can end up in the field of reeds. Well, that's not actually what Kemetic heaven is called. Kemetic heaven is called Ayaru, okay? And I do have the article on that. Okay, I do have it. It's in my bookmarks, and I'm gonna find it just to make sure. But yes, I do have it. Okay, so what our Kemetic ancestors interpreted the heavens, they called it Ayaru. Okay, Aaru, Ayaru, which simply meant heaven or the heavens. Ayaru, the Ayarus. Okay? And, or they would say Ayarut. Thank you, Dua O segment. The Ayarut, which meant the heavens. The Ayaru, Ayarut meant heaven. Ayaru meant the heavens. Okay? And when we say the heavens, we meant that there were many galaxies, many dimensions, and so forth. Okay, and there was more than one layer to the duat. Okay, there were many underworlds. Okay, so it wasn't just one. There was more than one. Okay, if you actually look at the glyphs, you see that um, the duat is basically an obstacle course. So this would also mean that mythologically it is a symbol of the 9 dimensions of hell, as those of us in Christian or Catholic uh, interpretation and understand it sees it as. Okay, so the Kemites pretty much did a similar thing, only with uh, with us, we focus on things metaphysically here, because we know that everything is mental, and everything that is mental is not only of the mind, but it's also multiversal, multidimensional. So my art doesn't just affect those that are born and raised in the modern Kemetic culture. My art, in a global sense, affects everyone, and it doesn't matter what faith you believe in, because if you look in every religious text, they all say the same thing. Yes? Okay then. But the important thing is I ask and I invite you, for those of you that were a part of Kemet and felt like you didn't want to do it anymore, but in your heart you feel like you want to come back because you feel like you still feel like there's some strength there. I invite you as not only an initiate, but a future prince, king, and priest, to ask the Kemau collective into your heart. Okay? And when you ask them into your heart, be sincere. Don't be afraid. You want to be the scientists, the alchemists of modern day Kemet. Ask them into your heart. Call upon the gods and goddesses of Kemau. Well, it doesn't matter whether you be heterosexual, androgeneity, via bisexual and or homosexual, also known as gay. Okay, it doesn't matter. You all are loved, whether Kim or Tahu. Okay, meaning black or white. The Kemetic ancestors are laughing because they know what I'm saying is true. Right? I would start off with a prayer, but I don't want to scare people, but my my honest and faithful suggestion would be to ask your ancient African ancestors into your heart, just as you would Jesus as a Christian, just as you would Allah as a Muslim or Muslim. Okay, because there's two different types and ways of saying that, even though I'm not Arabic. Okay. um, if anyone who is not redeemed of their own ignorance, I freely give them an invitation to have knowledge of self. All right. Oh, on natural mood, Cosmic Divine Mother of Kamau. Itamau. Translation: Father Mao. Itamamau. Translation: Father Mamau. Nebasar. Nebet Aset. I, as a man of ignorance, ask you. I welcome all the Netaru, all the Neter and Netaru into my lib, me av, me heart. Okay. Help me to change my ways by gaining knowledge of self. Kau. And in Yoruba they say Ashe. I'm not a Yoruba priest, but I do have somewhat of a connection. And what I understand in an African sense, we are a family. There is no separation. So sometimes I may teach some Yoruba knowledge, if that's all right with the Kemetic ancestors, and they say yes. But if you do not know yourself, if you have no knowledge of self, I ask you to call upon Aset, Asar, Heru. If you want to become a Eastern heterosexual, you call. If you want to become a part of our culture, I'm sorry. If you want to become a part of our culture, it is worthy that you call upon first Itanun, translation Father Noon. Okay, he is the cosmic heavenly father of the night sky. Mother Newt, Moot Newt. Okay, she is the mother of the cosmic night sky. She would be the etheric spirit, okay, of the night sky and the stars. Then you would call upon Amun Ra, okay, Amun Hotep for physical conscious direction, because these deities are not just real, they represent scientific attributes also. Okay? So call on him, Aset, Asar, call on Heru, call on the wife of Heru, which is Heru. Also in Greek and English translation, she would be known as Mary Magdalene. Okay? Call upon her. Some call her the um, the pistis of Sophia. Okay, in the Greek translation. um, don't fear. Ask. All, matter of fact, don't just ask the people that I mentioned into your heart. Ask all of them. They are a family, and after you ask them into your heart, pray the prayer and ask them to show you how to use them to operate with them inside of you. Remember, in the I don't know if the Egyptian texts teach this, but I do know that the Christian Bible says that God is God is inside of you. It's your living temple. Do you not know that? I don't know what the Kemetic scriptures say about it. I may have to do some research on it. But I'm pretty sure it talks about it because everything is all the same. But yes, please ask the ancient Kemetic ancestors into your heart. You know what I mean? Uh, don't don't wait until you die to get knowledge yourself. If you do, great, congratulations. But I'm pretty sure it's gonna take you a long time to gain true enlightenment once you go to Ayaru or the Duat. You can even learn from the underworld too. That is, if they don't torture you. I'm joking. I'm just messing around. but anyway, um, yeah. Um, there's nothing wrong with Kemetic devotion. Okay. Yes, I am a metaphysician. Yes, I am I'm an occultist. I'm a star seed, which also means I'm a representative of Sirius. Yeah, I'm a representative of the planet Sirius in heterosexual Kamau. We call that Saru, Saru, and in the Ra Golden Beetle translation, they call that Sobet. Okay, Sobetu. All right. Ask our ancient ancestors into your heart, and you will have nothing but peace. And you will have nothing but peace, love, and protection. Strengthen your faith in our metaphysical and occult temple, as well as a galactic Kemetic temple. You get the idea of what I'm saying. All right. So with that being said, Ankh Uja, may you live. Ankh Uja Seneb. Ankh Nifu Uja Seneb. Translation: life, prosperity, and wealth. And may you also live life, freedom, prosperity, and health. Ka'u, Ka'u, and Du'a'in Hotapu. Good night, all.